Good afternoon, everybody. It's 5 o'clock. We will call to order the Ford County Commissioners meeting. It'll be a special meeting for March 19th, 2020, meeting number 2020-09. If everybody would join me in a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, in your divine wisdom, you know well why we are here. We ask you to continue to bless us with your protections and with your peace and with your guidance and wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a short agenda. I don't know how short the meeting will be, but the agenda is short. So, first up is disaster declaration. I believe Administrator Gilbert has sent out a press release about this already. Let's see, hold up the wrong piece of paper. I got it right here. Do we need to read this, you think, or? Okay. This is a proclamation of a state of local disaster emergency for Ford County, Kansas. Whereas on the 19th day of March 2020, the Board of County Commissioners finds that a disaster has occurred or that the threat thereof is imminent in Ford County, Kansas, due to the COVID-19, the respiratory disease caused by the coronavirus. And whereas because of such conditions, national and state declarations of emergency have been declared in response to the pandemic. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Ford County, Kansas as follows. Section 1, by virtue of the authority vested in the Board of County Commissioners by KSA 48-932, the Board of County Commissioners of Ford County, Kansas hereby declare and proclaim that a state of local disaster emergency exists. Section 2, the area within Ford County, Kansas covered by this proclamation is the entire area of Ford County, Kansas. Section 3, this declaration of a local disaster emergency shall activate the response and recovery aspects of any and all local and interjurisdictional disaster emergency plans which are applicable to Ford County, Kansas. Section 4, the Board of County Commissioners has all rights and or powers to perform such functions as are vested in the Board by and through the provisions of the Kansas Emergency Preparedness Act of 1975. Section 5, this proclamation shall remain in effect for a period of 14 days unless terminated earlier or renewed by the Board of County Commissioners pursuant to KSA 48-932A. Section 6, this proclamation shall be given prompt and general publicity and promptly filed with the county clerk.
Mr. Chairman.
Glenn Curbs?
Yeah, one change that I think needs to be made to that on section 5 where it designates 14 days, I think that's intended to be 60 days. Consistent with what the governor has declared.
Okay.
And it can be terminated earlier if that's the commissioners choose to do.
We'd actually discussed that a little bit ago, and I'm okay with that if that's.
Or you could do it 14 days and renew it at your next meeting, which is also.
Commissioner Boyce, were you able to hear that?
I actually was not. If you could just repeat that real quick.
Okay. Councilor Curbs recommended that on section 5, where it is stated for a period of 14 days, that we change that to reflect a period of 60 days, and if we need to, we can withdraw this at an earlier time if we need to.
Sound good? Do you need a motion to change that? I guess we haven't.
We haven't approved it yet,
We haven't, I think we can probably approve that as amended, can't we?
or just approve that, and then we'll change the days on there.
Okay. Do we have a resolution number 7? Number 7 will be the resolution number on this. And I would make a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-07.
I second
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
No.
Shall we note that we are adopting this resolution with the change to the dates in section 5 from 14 to 16, or from 14 to 60, sorry. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next on the agenda, we have county services. So I've been continuing to research about this, and I have to say that the recent past, I have felt like, possibly we as a nation and as our state have gone over the top a little bit about responding to this. The more I read about it and come to understand how it spreads and how that happens exponentially, the math of it is what has really, I guess, opened my eyes a little bit. And I have come to change my opinion about this a little bit. And by doing so, I have come to ask myself whether we have been doing enough and whether we need to change our direction where we're at right now. And I believe that we do need to address this with more stringent measures, I should say. Just open that up for you guys to discuss some more as well, whatever thoughts you have.
I think that we need somebody with a lot more.
Commissioner, can you just pull up to the mic there so everybody can?
Yes, I'm like you, I kind of fell flat on the front end. And I thought maybe we was making a lot about nothing, but now I'm totally reversed on that. But I want to know who in here knows what we really need to do this disaster. Hold up your hand if you think you know what to do. I certainly don't. I wonder why we don't have some medical people here, like some of us, Dr. Moffat, Kai, all the people who've been here for years. We got a real problem if it gets into one of our packing houses. I mean, big time problem. But by the same token, as we came by Cargill today, my wife and I, she said they probably are more conscious about taking care of things like masks and washing down and things like that because they're in the food processing business. I don't know, I've never worked here. Probably somebody in here knows about that. I don't know anything about it. But anyway, does anybody have any ideas what we really need to be doing? How about you, Chief Boyd?
Well, I think basically now we're following guidelines that are being pushed downstream to us from both the CDC and KDHE, and those are kind of, I've never dealt with anything like this. So we're kind of leaning on those entities to give us direction and help us in planning. I mean, this thing's changing every day. And as Rex, I thought I saw Rex here, I mean, he's doing 3 conference calls a day because of updated information that's constantly coming in. And I don't know that there's anybody in this country that can say, you need to do this right now. because it'll do this in 2 weeks. I don't know that anybody knows that. I mean, I'm not a very bright guy, but
You're
I
pretty
think there's a
bright.
lot of unknowns out there right
You're,
now.
I'm not going, because you're not a bright guy.
I think that's where I'm at with that as well, is that we'd be hard pressed to find somebody that could really come in and be an expert in this area, because we are all really learning this as we go. And I think that applies to whether you're talking about the federal level or the state level or here. And as far as our businesses out in the community and those kind of things, we're not able to really tell them, well, to a certain extent we would be, but what their procedures have to be. But by considering more stringent procedures here at our level, we are the leader in the community that way. We're showing what they should be doing by being the leader in the community on this, is I guess my perception of it.
So what are some?
Commissioner Cassidy, I know one of the things I read earlier today was that in the state of Kansas, they have 186 respirators, and that really surprised me. I heard that from a medical physician. And you think about how quickly those would be used. I mean, there's not that many people right now with the virus in Kansas, but I would think that if this thing could multiply, within 3 days, and then the 3 days, and just those numbers would rise, that we'd be out of those pretty quick. And I think that taking these steps of distancing and ourselves from each other, I mean, it really will cut down on that number of how that virus would multiply.
Just to put into perspective, and build on what you're saying there, Commissioner Boyce, with those numbers, the case that Ford County has right now came to us from out of state. So it wasn't something that was basically patient zero here. I mean, it didn't happen here. But if and when that does, the fact is when that first person tests positive, they have already been afflicted with COVID-19 for probably somewhere around 2 to 5 days. Is that right? It's taken 2 to 5 days to manifest itself as far as symptoms goes. Is that what I've heard? I believe. So a pretty conservative figure is that person may have interacted with how many people? If you want to be very conservative about it, I think 10 people. So now those 10 people are okay. So we start with that number. And this thing is doubling every 3 days. So in 3 days, then we have 20. And in 3 more days, we have 40. And by the end of a month's time, we are pushing 10,000. Just by simple extrapolation of math. And those numbers are simply not anything that our healthcare system right now, here locally or anywhere else that I know of, can stand. 5% of that, as they say, is what will need hospitalization to be treated for. That's 500 people. And that's more beds than we have in the county, I know that.
Yeah.
Angela, is it true that they need blood? I seen on Facebook, and it's terrible to say I seen on Facebook, because you can see anything on Facebook. But I seen on Facebook that the Red Cross needs more blood for this deal. Is that true?
I can't give you an answer on that right now, but I will look into that and get back with you on that.
But if that is true, why wouldn't we step up as a community and everybody start giving blood? I'm willing.
Mhm.
except I take Aliquot twice a day. And I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. I see the, down here right down here in the middle of town, they're asking for blood, and I'd be glad to go, but I don't know if my deal will be worth the dog or not. I know to ask the doctor maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe they don't need blood, maybe this was just somebody typing on Facebook, they do it all the time. We're a population here of what, 28,000 people in Dodge, is that correct? 35,000 in the county, that'd be pretty well close. That's a lot of blood we could give, if we could, you know, some people would be limited, couldn't do it. If 50% would give, that'd be a lot of blood. When I was a little kid, we had World War II, and everybody stepped in. Everybody. This might be as bad. And I'm not trying to throw up the flags and make everybody want to commit suicide and all that. We just need to do what we gotta do to help out. And that's what Commissioner Tassin just got through saying. We need to do whatever we need to do to help out. Based on that, that's all I have to say.
The odd thing about that is, in order for us to do what we need to do to help out, it might be opposite of what is conventional thinking. As far as our agenda item here is county services go, my personal feeling is that it's time to stop all non-essential county services, and that we place on administrative leave those personnel that are not necessary for the essential service. If they're not tied directly to that essential service that we're needing to continue to provide, that those personnel go on paid administrative leave.
How long of a time frame are you thinking on that?
Commissioner Boyes, I think we talked about this here earlier today, and I think we have 5 Mondays in this month. And I think, my personal opinion is that the wise thing to do would be to make it that we have a meeting on our 5th Monday of this month, and we make it on a subject to renewal each time that we have a meeting. We have to continue to have our meetings, the 1st and 3rd Mondays of the month, and I think while we have this going on, if we have a 5th Monday in the month, we probably ought to make sure that we probably do it on the 5th Monday as well, but that we revisit that and make our determination at each one of our Board of County Commissioner meetings. We can at that time take the numbers that we know nationally and across the state and in our own county and make informed decisions at each one of those junctures.
Has anybody talked to either one of the people running the parking houses in this town, the head of? Has anybody talked to us?
I have not.
I wonder why we would reach out to them, ask them if there's something we could do to help out. I don't know. I know one thing, if one of those pack houses go down, we are, it's a great loss for everybody.
I don't know what the packing houses are doing. I've heard that they've got medical staff that's going around and they're checking temperatures of everybody every hour or two there, they have, it sounds like they have a pretty good system already.
Well, it'd be good to
Going.
know what they're doing, if it's a positive direction.
I have a friend that works out there and they're taking extra precautions, making sure everybody's using hand sanitizer and also disinfecting their, even all the way down to their feet, covering their feet when they walk into the plant. It's pretty, my friend says it's pretty crazy out there with the precautions they're taking, but they are taking extra measures to protect people out there.
Commissioner Pass, I couldn't hear what that comment was.
I'm not sure who it was, but we had someone in the gallery there saying that a friend of theirs that works in the packing plant said that they were taking extensive extra measures for making sure that I just lost my sanitizers are being used and sterilization and that kind of thing. Thank you.
Okay. I got an email from Economic Development. Joanne Knight had shared that Hayes Kelman, who is the CEO of the Dodge City Distillery, he has the ability to make hand sanitizer at his business, and he's producing, I believe this first round is 3,000 bottles, and he's doing it on his expense. But he is looking for community partnership, you know, in the amount of $2,500, and that would make an additional 2,500 bottles. And he's looking to see if he can't do as many as 11,000, and these would be free to the public. And it's early enough in this that I think if Ford County came forward and actually gave $2,500 out of a fund, we could actually assist the hand sanitizer availability for the public. It would actually probably have our logo somewhere on there, along with his business and other businesses that partner with that. But I think that'd be a smart move on our part.
We have a process for that, partnering in that. Okay. Do you have any comments about the county services, gentlemen? Thoughts there?
I think it's a smart move to stay ahead of what's happening.
Mr. Tassett, when you talk about essential, non-essential, are you talking about closing all the offices? Or are you talking about using skeleton crews in the offices? I'm not sure. Maybe everyone here knows what that means. I just was wondering what that.
I am saying that we should close our offices to anybody coming in from outside, okay?
But the offices would still be open, but just closed to the public.
Only for, as each office identifies what essential service their office provides. And whatever it takes for them to provide that service. If that requires somebody to be here in the office, that's great. If that's something that can be provided through telecommunication or telecommuting or whatever you call this, telecommuting,
Or electronic.
or electronically can be done from home, I would prefer that, okay? This is as much about protecting our staff as it is about being a leader and being an example of how we need to be as far as the rest of the community. So our department heads, okay, are gonna be essential in deciding what
But each
each department's essential services are that have to be performed. And then, you know, even there, you know, some ideas would be that we start rotating staff, you know, to, you know, maybe you have somebody on for 2 days that's tied to that essential service, and then bringing another person to take care of that for a couple days, so that, you know, we have a redundancy and a little bit of a buffer or zone for people to just not be constantly exposed. So. Any other thoughts or discussion on this, gentlemen?
I just know on our end, we're having a hard time just acquiring supplies right now, so we're working with Rex. Rex is working with us, and Angela's done great with us, but we're still below the standards that we should be at for all of our first responders, so obviously we're gonna be the essential part of it, and we don't have the choice on who we get to deal with, so we've got some concerns there that we're trying to address currently, and I've placed some orders today with the vendor, but still looking at 2, 3, 4 weeks, which doesn't do us any good right now, so I'm happy to hear the distillery. I told JD I'd be happy to jump in on that myself to help out if we can. Gibson's Pharmacies, I think looking at doing same type of deal, so we're looking for any resources we can right now, just as like first responders, to make sure, you know, fire, EMS, law enforcement, jail staff.
Debbie?
Just a thought, what, if you do close off the services, which I fully understand, I think we will need assistance at the front door to prevent what happened this afternoon with people gathering, and some of them were angry, and just somebody, you know, public relations to let this information out. But in addition to that, to maybe have some assistance there for those that aren't getting, don't have the word, or they think they have their emergency, and help us address that.
I understand what you're saying there, and those, and these, and thank you for bringing it up. And I think these kind of things are the details that we'll have to get into over the next couple of days if we implement this kind of a thing. We're gonna be learning as we go where we need those kind of things to happen, Debbie, and I don't imagine it's probably just gonna be there, or it's probably not gonna be just that kind of service. There's gonna be other things that we're gonna discover along the way that we'll have to figure out how to do it. I don't know of anybody here that's ever, for all intents and purposes, shut down a county. I mean, we're kind of stepping out into something that's not terribly well known about. So, and I don't want to have this be pushing a panic button.
regards to panic,
I want this to be a proactive move that, that would help the county lead in demonstrating how to keep it from becoming something that is just way blown out of anything that we could control. So, I'm sorry, go ahead with your question.
regards to panic, there's gonna be, with the shutdown of non-essential services, there's gonna be people who are still gonna be needing, well, probably those, sorry, I'm a much better writer than I am a talker.
It's all right, take your time.
They're gonna be needing, well, services either way. How do you have you considered emergency procedures in place to merit those requirements? Sorry, again, I probably made that so confusing.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure of your question. Can you try and restate it for me, or?
Yes, I can.
Do you have a service in mind particularly that you're talking about, or?
Well, not necessarily, no, but, let me table that for a moment, hold on a second.
Okay. You're welcome to re-ask it there.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Makes so much more sense in my head.
Do we have any other?
Well,
any other
and
comments?
probably in answering part of his questions, already Debbie already has a deal where if you're needing a tag for the deal, you can go online and do it. Is this correct?
That is correct.
And see, that might answer part of your questions. I mean, like the tags, where you need tag, to pay your property tax and all that, you also Debbie, I'm sure.
Excuse me though, there are some circumstances that will prevent a person from being able to do the online services. They are available, but there are some minor glitches that they may encounter that may not allow them to renew online. But we are definitely encouraging people to take advantage of that.
You got that, sir?
I
Okay,
think we'll
well, if you're
also-
not, Debbie Pennington is the one that,
I think we'll also be able to put messages on, like, our voicemails and answering machines for the different offices that give the callers some guidance on where they can go for resources for different things. And most of us department heads will be monitoring our voicemail and taking care of that as well. Education and information will be huge.
go ahead and talk, it's okay.
Oh, no, that, got it,
That got it?
yeah.
Thank you for being here, by the way. And this is a big problem, and we're all here, we're all sitting here wondering what in the world we should be doing about this problem. And it's, but somebody's got an idea that's probably very unique and probably will work. And it might be right here, but maybe they're afraid to talk. Is anybody in here afraid to talk?
Yes, he is.
All I can tell you is I can't shut down, Rob can't shut down, Angela can't shut down, Rex can't shut down, and Elliot can't shut down.
Landfill.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, we talked about the landfill. We don't want to shut down trash service,
yeah.
but I think we could at this time shut down the public's access to it. We don't, what we would like to do is shut down the access where they are needing to come in the office and pay, and we have that interaction there. We're not wanting to have that, so the landfill would be maybe a partial shutdown. Again, that's what we're talking about is as far as our department heads identifying the essential service that needs to happen. That we have to keep providing, and we go from there to figure out how we continue to provide that. And with keeping in mind how we rotate our staff there to make sure that, you know, if something happens where we have some of our staff that gets sick there, that we have somebody held in reserve and able to step up and take the spot. And that's, you know, that should be left up to you guys as department heads, but those are all things that we need to try and manage as well, so.
So, under that rotating plan like that, if they work 20 hours, is that other 20 hours covered by the paid time off, PTO,
Yes.
or by the
Admin leave.
admin leave?
That would be administrative paid time.
Which one? Administrative or paid time? Are they the same thing?
Administrative.
Paid administrative leave,
Yes.
how's that?
Yeah. Are we to the point that road maintenance is non-essential or essential right now still?
Well, I can
That I
tell you
have the
this,
entire
I
crew,
can tell you
because
this.
we've got roads that are sloppy from all the recent rains we've had. Do I have the entire crew come in, or do I rotate them? I'm kinda on the fence, I feel like I need some direction.
I don't think that your road crews are having a lot of contact with the
No,
public.
no.
And that's the whole goal of shutting down the services at this point, is trying to increase the opportunity for social distancing, especially for staff. Because if we're restricted access right now, but we're still operating, all of us are still in this room. We're still within 6 feet of each other, some of us can be asymptomatic, I mean, we're still putting ourselves at risk.
That is the problem right
And
now.
if,
is that-
and if we're putting ourselves at risk and we're still having people come in for services, we're putting them at risk. And we're the entity that's in charge of public health.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The Register of Deeds office, in order for title companies to do their jobs, it is essential for them to come into our office and do research. So we're wondering how you guys may think we would handle that. Brenda would be here, but she's out of town right now.
Do you have online access to your records?
We do. And
There you go.
we've been taking those extra measures and,
But they don't go all the way back sometimes.
Understood.
right, they don't
Okay.
go all the way back to the beginning of time, like they do if they would come in
I
to
think,
our office.
I think it's important to remember that when we're talking about this, we're discussing it now, but this isn't like something that's indefinite. We're not asking to shut down for 6 months. I mean, literally, the conversations I've had with Vice Chairman Tassett are about until the 30th. I think it was the 30th that we were talking about, which is the 5th Monday. So that's roughly 10 days. So within that 10 or 11 days, we're gonna figure a lot of this stuff out. And there might be a backlog for all of us. I mean, none of us want to shut down. I don't think any of us want to work from home. So there's gonna be a backlog for all of us, but this is
I don't even
growing.
want to go home.
But this is a process that we're gonna grow through, and we're literally gonna set the curve probably for the nation. I mean, most people are just restricting access or some of the services, they're not completely shutting down. And of course, we're not talking about fire and EMS and law enforcement and communications, that's not what we're talking about, those are essential services. So some of these questions, we're not gonna be able to answer today, even if we sit here for 3 or 4 hours, we're just not gonna know until we get into it.
It's not gonna it's going to cause pains around the community, us shutting down services like that.
Do you guys think
You-
we should let them in at all, or?
If we shut this down, we're gonna shut the building, okay? And that, you know, I understand that you guys' office is essential for them being able to do their job. At this point is, with what we're looking at right now, is completion of that task essential to everybody's well-being. we're here as the health board, not the arbitrator of everybody's tasks, I guess. So,
Thank you.
It really
Mhm.
sounds like we need to brainstorm with IT, because if we can remote in, I think that might save a lot of frustration for a lot of people.
and that process has already started.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're, there again, that's another thing that over the next couple of days, that we're working on getting that aspect of it taken care of. Making that capability available.
I have had some correspondence from the Department of Revenue. They are waiting for governor approval. They're looking at extensions for registration renewal periods, 60-day permits for law enforcement, but they have to wait for confirmation from the governor. So we're waiting on that.
Okay. Commissioner Boyce, were you able to hear that?
Yes.
Okay. So I had heard that as well. And I had actually said something, I think even before the governor did there a couple days ago, about what authority did the county have to take those that course of action, and saying, you know what, we're gonna grant a waiver or an extension here until we get a handle on this thing, so, but hopefully she takes that measure and goes in and finishes that out for us. That would be great. Any other thoughts or comments?
I just have one comment. We are so trained to be customer service oriented that I just want to make the comment that I really hope all the departments take this seriously if you move forward with the essential functions, because we all feel we're essential and we're important to the public, but this is different. The public and our health and safety is what's essential now and will catch up with our customer service later. So I just hope we all take this so seriously. Because it's just uncomfortable for us.
Your point there was something else that we had talked about earlier. Actually, JD brought this up, and it's important that for, I think, our department heads to identify those essential services and not necessarily the essential personnel. We're all essential, okay? We're all important to how this all works. Identifying the essential services and the folks that are attached directly to that and are the ones needed in order to make that essential service happen. I think that's how we need to go about it. I think I would like to make a motion at this time, unless, commissioners, you have any other comments?
I do know.
I would make a motion that Ford County cease in-person operations. We close our building. Instruct our department heads to conduct essential services only. And that we place on administrative leave all personnel that we can, paid administrative leave. And we make this for a period starting tomorrow morning and revisit it on the 30th, Monday the 30th, be the 5th Monday of this month, and we reevaluate at that time. That That is my motion.
I second it.
We have a second to the motion. Do we have any further discussion?
Mr. Vice Chairman, just for clarification, when we're closing in-person services, we mean for all county facilities, not just the government center.
Yes.
Say that again?
All county facilities, not just the government center. Not just this building, all county buildings.
You go shut the sheriff down?
We're not shutting him down, we're closing the buildings to the public.
Oh. So, Kevin, okay.
Any further discussion?
No.
I'm gonna call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous. So we head off into uncharted waters.
Rosie Derivative.
If you have questions, I will be available after the meeting
Okay.
and this weekend and all next week. In the evenings, the mornings, lunchtime, doesn't matter. Email me, text me, call me, whatever you need.
In the meantime, everybody, take hope. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna get through it. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second
I'll
it.
second that.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Boyce, travel safe.
Thank you much.
Hang on, guys. So for this admin leave, it will go into the timekeeping system as a holiday with the comment admin leave.
Email it.
Email it.
But we go ahead
And I will, but they were asking me.
But we go
so
ahead and put that in for our full-time.
For all, once you determine who does not need to be here, just go ahead and put their leave-ins until that Monday that the commission.
Set off.
I had them scheduled for half